The loony left is using LGBTQ+, basically the alphabet, to groom and indoctrinate kids into victim groups, so they can tell them that everyone who is not in that group is oppressing that particular group, and CRT to indoctrinate them to be good little communists. If you don't believe me, they're already talking about arresting people for using speech they don't like.
Contrary to popular opinion, trans students are not under attack. Christians are under attack. Amen. Truth is under attack. And reality is under attack. And we mourn the 6 Christians who were murdered in a rage of hate by a mentally ill woman in Nashville. We're in Wilmington, but most people don't know what happened in 1898 when a group of white liberals came in and overthrew the power structure in Wilmington. 60 blacks were killed. 2,100 were run out of town, including white Republicans. The only black newspaper was burned down, and here we are. The crew is still conspiring, and blacks are still in the swamp as they were hiding out in 1898. Blacks are in the swamp of underperformance while we focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. New Hanover County spends over $13,000 per student, which is $1,000 over the average expenditure in North Carolina. 76% of black students are not proficient in reading by the 3rd grade. 76% of black students are not proficient in math by the 3rd grade. 86% of black students aren't proficient in Math 1. 76% of black students aren't proficient in the Math 3. Equity is the focus, but equity is damaging things for everyone. Equity is the transmission of a disease called communism. Equity celebrates and rewards failure and demoralizes those who succeed. Today, we don't need to play the games and the coup of the past. What we need is reading, writing, and arithmetic. Amen. We need education and not indoctrination. I don't despise anyone, but I do hate those who push evil agendas.
You know you're in a cult if 1. You believe you are what your imagination says you are. Delusional, characterized by or holding false beliefs or judgments about external reality that are held despite incontrovertible evidence to the contrary, typically as a symptom of a mental condition. You know you're in a cult if 6. You believe reality isn't real. Delusional, characterized by or holding false beliefs or judgments about external reality that are held despite incontrovertible evidence to the contrary, typically as a symptom of a mental condition. You know you're in a cult if 10. Thanks to Jamie Lee Curtis, who didn't know how many Oscars she'd won, them can't count. You know you're in a cult if 11. You will cry in protest to take a real black woman off a syrup bottle and a Quaker off a box of oats named Quaker Oats, only to put a fake white woman on a beer can. All while saying, I can't believe they're so upset over a beer can. Bud Light parent Anheuser-Busch's stock has lost $27 billion over Dylan Mulvaney. You know you're in a cult if 13. If you get triggered because someone doesn't think you're special because you were born into one of the CRT-approved victim groups, they believe deeds and personal responsibility warrant pride. You know you're in a cult if 18. Lost your shit over To Kill a Mockingbird and Huckleberry Finn but are screaming about banning books with gay sex and masturbation in school libraries. You know you're in a cult if 20. Will lie even with irrefutable evidence. You know you're in a cult if 21. Being so filled with hate, you will groom, mutilate, and murder your own children, all while calling your opposition fascists. You know you're in a cult if 22. Believes that out of 7 billion people on the planet, white, straight, males are somehow oppressing everyone else. You know you're in a cult if 23. Will lose your shit when someone points out that you're not oppressed, you're just stupid. You know you're in a cult if 25. Will refer to a biology book as right-wing propaganda. You know you're in a cult if. 26. Will lose your shit if someone actually uses proper English, instead of your made-up pronouns. You know you're in a cult if. 32. Are the same people who say you can't indoctrinate kids to be gay with a book or a drag show, but continually accuse the church of doing that very thing. Although religion isn't taught in schools, and you're not forced to go to church. You know you're in a cult if. 33. When someone is simply talking science and common sense, you will try to bring religion into it. Well, you know the church. Well then, don't go to church. It's not against the law. Not going to school is. You know you're in a cult if. 34. Will use unrelated behavior to justify their sick, grooming behavior. You know you're in a cult if. 39. Will lose your shit when someone says you're in a woke cult, and to prove you're not, you do the things on this list over and over and over. You know you're in a cult if. 40. Will accuse your opposition of that which you are guilty. You know you're in a cult if. 46. Consider chemically castrating a pedophile horrible and inhumane, but chemically castrating a child just dandy.